For those of you that don't know me, I met probably most of you, unless you're new staff, last year after the election and before the holidays. Becky Carter and I came around and visited with all of you and talked about, just touching base, etc. And since then, at that time, I was just getting the district IT committee going, and since then, it's been a dead sprint to today. But it's been an exciting sprint, and so I'm here, my role, and so that's kind of why I'm involved. I'm the executive officer. My name's Don Begier, for those of you that don't know me. My title's sort of long. It's the executive officer for educational services, and I'm the former principal of Falcon Middle School, and so I've been around a little while, and so I'm here to just kind of introduce this. We've learned a lot. This is now our 6th session, and so you're getting like the really refined, so say nice things about us, okay, in your critique, because it's supposed to be refined at 6 times. So, but one of the things we didn't do in the very first session was I didn't speak till it was over, and so that first group kind of came in with probably some of the same nervousness and anxiety. How many of you are going to be operating in the Mac OS X environment pretty much for the first time, or you're not there very often? Okay, so this is our larger group, about 2/3 of you. So I made this conversion personally in 2005 because of Broadmoor Elementary School's $1 million project. I bought my daughter an eMac, and since then, last night I purchased our 16th device, Apple device for my family that we own, and we actually have 17 because of the district-owned MacBook that they've given me. And so that's what I believe about these devices. But I'm going to come back in and kind of talk later. But what we learned that first session was you have a lot of questions about, like, what about my Run Dog Run 3rd grade reading program? And what about? So that's my job later on to come in and talk about smart boards and all that kind of stuff. So what we want to do is let you kind of put all that in a parking lot for the next hour or so while Blake Schwank goes through more of the OS X, the operating system, for those of you that raised your hand and are kind of on it maybe for the first time or you've very rarely been on it. And so we're going to talk about the really super practical things about this as just a computer. And that is the infinite campus, your email, your settings, those sort of things that matter to you at just a real practical level. And then I'm going to come back in and talk a little bit more about how we're going to support you to take this from just a computer to far more than that, a powerful, powerful teaching tool. On Monday morning, a teacher came in and they set me up perfectly because I will tell you that I meant what I said in my email when I said that just like we reached for the moon on July 16th, 1969, I thought it was sort of awesome coincidence that this is when we started to deploy our MacBooks on Monday, July 16th. And because he said, well, that's sort of a horrible metaphor. That's sort of powerful, and you wasted that. And he said, they're just a computer. I'm here to tell you that the District Tech Committee failed if all we're giving you today is a computer. Yes, it's going to start out as a computer because you do need to get your email, you got to get into Infinite Campus. But I'm going to come back and tell you about how we're going to move it to something far different. And the moon metaphor for me is very personal. I was born in Titusville, Florida in December of 1967, about 18 months or so before we launched for the moon. And my mother held me in her arms on the front porch as she watched that Saturn V rocket take us to the moon. This being here, I don't remember it, but I felt a shape to the moon. And I don't know if that did something to my DNA, kind of like Spider-Man getting bit by the spider or the green juice for the Hulk, but I've never been able to conform. I've never been okay with being just good enough. I've spent my life being my own worst critic and wanting to be, if we're keeping score, I want to win. Even if it's rummy with my wife. And I know that that's the value that we have with innovation. That's why we've gone to innovation. And so I know that you believe that good is the enemy of great. And so I didn't waste that metaphor. I meant it. We're going to take the kids of Falcon School District 49 to the moon. And so today is the beginning of that for you, your first baby steps, right? What was it? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, and I don't waste that. I mean that. Our very future is at stake. And that is not a magic wand I'm putting in your hands, but it can really accelerate the success that you have as an instructor and with your kids. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. I'm going to let, this is Blake Schwank, for those of you that don't know him. He's the CEO of Colorado Computer Support. You'll hear him referred to as CCS a lot, and we'll say, call CCS, or put in a help ticket with CCS. But they took over our help desk about a year or so ago, maybe a little longer than that, and then in January we gave them the entire operation, and I can tell you they've done an incredible job. We began this conversation as a committee, and it started out as a conversation about, well, we're looking at a little pilot of some iPads, and that might lead to some MacBooks in the spring of 2013, and then I came to Blake and I said, hey, we're going to do it this year, and he said, well, okay. He said, well, when can we take delivery? I said, I think we can get them here in April or May, and then some things happened that were beyond our control, and I said, hey, Blake, I got some bad news for you. I said, we're not going to take delivery of them until after July 1. And in our conversation in the spring, he said, well, that's great. He said, it takes about 10 to 12 weeks or so to deploy about 1,000 devices like that and make sure that people are comfortable running them, etc. And I said, well, Blake, I got some more bad news for you. We want every teacher to have them before school starts. And he gulped hard and he said, okay, we can do it. So we've talked about tearing the Band-Aid off. We're going to deploy close to 1,000 of these in 5 days, and we could not have done it without what Colorado Computer Support's done in terms of organizing it and just making it happen. So this gentleman and his team have done a great job. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and then put all your curriculum stuff, all your individual teaching software tools, all that in the parking lot, and just learn the OS X operating system for about an hour or so, and then I'll be back in, and you can ask me all sorts of what ifs. Does that sound great? Please welcome Blake Schwank.
What our objective here today is to turn you guys loose with a tool that you can teach with on day one, that you know how to communicate with it, you know how to get to the internet with it, you know how to get to your student records with it, that you can actually put your MacBook to use when you get into the classroom. If we can get you out of here and able to do that, then we've succeeded. What we're not going to be able to do is teach you how to use every application on there in the next 60 to 90 minutes. That's what they've invested time and money with Apple. Apple's going to come through and do a day of training with you guys later on. You'll get more in depth there, and then take this home and play with it. That's the way that you're really going to learn how to use this and put this to good use. You really can't break it. If you do break it, worst case is we can re-image it and give it back to you. What you got today was, you should have received a MacBook, a power supply, you should have gotten a case. What you don't have and what's still pending are iPads for most of you, some of you, and then the video adapters for your smartboards. The district is going through and purchasing those, and then we'll push those down through the school so that you can actually connect to your smartboards. The software is on there for the smartboards, but the adapters are not, and that's this white dongle that I have over here. A little bit of the history, like Don said, we started talking about this months and months ago. Then, we were going to do a little bit of a refresh because we've got 6,300 computers out there. We decided to do, a refresh of some Macs, and then the board decided to do 1,000 of them. And then we had to wait for board approval. There's been something, I've heard that there's some chaos with the board. They finally got that approved a few weeks ago, and because of fiscal year limitations, then we couldn't take delivery of any of the software or any of the MacBooks until July 1. What we had discussed with Don originally would take months to get out. He asked that we turn it around. They really pushed. They wanted these in your hands by August 1st, and then we found out a way to make it happen. Worked hard as a team between Mark and his folks, between the guys in our office and some of the staff here at D49, like John Litzenberg, to get all of this together. We sat over the 4th of July week while a lot of people were off vacationing. We sat down with the software and got it installed on the server so that we could actually manage all of these devices that are out there. So we've had that now for about a week and a half. We took delivery of the MacBooks on the 6th of July. They came 5 days later than they were supposed to, and 2 trucks show up, and we received the MacBooks. Between Carol, who's sitting in back, and a bunch of other people from IT, a few from finance, and Wendy, they sat there in 100-degree heat, unloading 2 trucks of MacBooks so that we could get them out. And if, 1,000 MacBooks is 80 feet of MacBooks. It's probably, I don't know how high that is, it's 80 feet high, but it's 2 tons of MacBooks. I think it was something like 70 pallets of MacBooks. It was amazing. So the relationship that we have with District 49 and with the curriculum, the software, Colorado Computer Support here is to help you on your hardware, on your software, getting to, troubles with the network, troubles with printers. Most of you have probably used the help desk system that we have in place. If you have a problem connecting to a printer, to the internet, to a wireless, to hooking up a mouse, that's what we are here for. If you can't open up your applications, then you call us. You send an email. You call us or send an email. That makes it most of the time to Cindy, who's sitting in back, and she opens up a ticket, she hands it off to a tech, and they come fix the problem if she can't fix it. What we are not there for is on the curriculum side. The curriculum, if you have a question for what you are supposed to, how you teach, what tools are available to teach calculus or English or art or whatever the case is, what tool you're going to use in the classroom to teach like you did on the PC side, that is an administration question. That has to go up through your principal, up through the ILs, up to Don Begier, who, and they're working that on the curriculum side so that you guys are teaching the same thing. Well, we have been asked on multiple occasions and told to stay out of the curriculum discussion. If your curriculum application doesn't work, then you call us and we help you. If you're trying to decide what it is that you're going to use to teach a class, whether one application is better than another, we have been told to back away from that to send you to your administrators. So Cindy's not being rude if she tells you, I cannot help you with whether or not you're going to use Calculator Pro in your math class or whatever it is. She is just doing what we have asked her to do and what Don has asked us to do, which is stay out of the curriculum question. Okay? So how do you get help? We did a survey a few months ago, came back really good, 95% or so satisfaction rate, but we did get a lot of questions and a lot of concerns on the ticketing process, how that works. Some people couldn't figure it out. So on your card is how you put in a ticket. What you do to get a ticket is you either call the help desk, which is extension 1137, or it's the main number there that's on that card or on the screen there. You send an email to helpdesk@coloradosupport.com, or you can go to our website, or you can go to the district's website and go to the IT page. There's multiple places where you can get that information in, and you just give us a call. We open up a ticket, we solve your problem. So what we want to do now is start up your MacBook. To turn it on, and the hinge goes in back. People have been known to try to open it from that side, so don't open it from that side. And then you hit your power button, which is up at the top right of the keyboard, and it should bring you to this screen. Okay? Once you're at that screen, we want to choose English for the main language. We want to choose the United States as your country, and we want to choose a US keyboard. Unless you're Canadian, then you can choose the Canadian keyboard. When it gets to the Wi-Fi network, these are already configured to connect to a wireless network. So what we want you to do on this question here, we want you to choose other network options at the bottom left. Not the other, but the other network options at the bottom left of the screen. Okay? So other network options, that brings you to this page. How do you connect? If you're not on this page now, go ahead and Is everybody at this page? If not, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. So from this, if you're not at this page, when you're at the Wi-Fi network, we want you to choose other network options. And where it says, how do you connect? Choose my computer does not connect to the internet. Okay? And from where and then you go ahead and hit next, and then choose don't transfer now. And then when you get to the license agreement, if you'd like to read through the whole thing, you can come back for the 4 o'clock session. Otherwise, scroll through it, eyeball it, and then hit continue and agree to the, oh, I'm sorry. So you scroll with your 2 fingers going up and down. We'll cover the trackpad in a little bit. But did we go to the black box Wi-Fi? Or no, you choose other network options at the bottom left. So everybody now should be at the registration information. We don't want you to register with Apple. So go ahead and hit continue on that registration information is missing. On create your computer account, we want create your computer account. Go ahead and use your full name, and your account name is the default information. Sorry about that. Technical issues on the microphone. Your full name is the full name of your Don Begier, or if you don't want to be Don Begier, use your name. And then the account name it'll automatically fill in. And then the password we want to set to what your District 49 password is. What you logged into your D630 with last week. And if you've already made it past that, you can change it later on under users. So, and then your password hint is whatever is going to remind you of your password in the future. So if you forget what your password is. So your password is the same thing as your D49, D630 password. Your username is whatever it automatically fills it in with, or your account name. And once you fill in that, go ahead and hit continue. And when you hit continue, it's going to give you the option to take a picture of yourself or your partner, or you can choose another picture. So choose, on the left you can choose a picture library, you can take a snapshot of yourself. Once you take a snapshot of yourself, then you can zoom in or out to get a better picture and move that around. Okay, and then you hit continue on that. Has everybody made it to the choose your snapshot picture? Is anybody stuck at this point? Once you get to the time zone, you want to choose that you want to set the time zone automatically. and it should choose simmer on hills. If it does not choose simmer on hills, it just means that your wireless has not yet connected, and it will eventually. By the time you leave here, your MacBook should be on the wireless network and working properly, automatically without any intervention. So did everybody find the time zone page? Anybody not there? So then we want to hit continue, and this brings you to the finishing up page. The finishing up page drove me absolutely nuts. It took me about 5 minutes the first time to get past it because it's not intuitive. What you have to do is you have to put your pointer within the white box that's underneath the finishing up screen, or the finishing up words. With your pointer within that box, you want to push down on the touchpad. The trick on the touchpad compared to the D630 is you have to push till it actually depresses the touchpad. And then once you've scrolled up through that white window, then you can click on Start Using Mac OS X Lion. If you scroll up, do you get there? Does it say this? Does it have the blue arrows on it? Okay. If you put your icon, put your pointer in the middle of that white window, and then push and click, so you have to actually feel it depress, and then use your 2 fingers to scroll up, and then let go, and use your 2 fingers to scroll up. It's not doing it? Oh, so you need to click in within the finishing up window. Yeah. It seriously did take me a few minutes to make it past this the first time. Right. Click and 2 fingers, and we'll go through the basics of using the touchpad. The biggest difference on the touchpad then with the Dell is you don't have the right and left clicks, and we'll go through that, and then you don't have the, you actually have to push, or you can use anywhere from 2 to 4 fingers on this to move, and you don't push down to move. That's a different function. You can push and slide, but that's a different function. So then, go ahead and click on your name, and let's see if we can get logged into the system. And we'll see if I've got enough battery on the lapel mic here until we find another 9-volt battery. While that's busy logging in, that's going to take a good couple minutes to get logged in. I'm going to walk you through the physical part of the Mac. We're going to start with the power adapter. Well, first of all, what you're using is Mac OS X Lion is the operating system. Mountain Lion is coming out. What you currently have is Mac OS X Lion. We will end up pushing out Mountain Lion at some point in the future, but we need to make sure it's stable before we use everybody as guinea pigs. So the power supply, this is the power supply that comes with your MacBook. You should have received one of these. There's 2 parts of it. There's the extension cord here, and then there's the power adapter, the short power adapter here. They're interchangeable, so if you don't have much distance to go, you can just use that. It's just, and then on this power brick is a couple ears. That took me a little while to find. It took me a few months, but you can pop up those ears, and then you can clean up your cords. The people that know me best know I'm a neatnik, and I like my cords wrapped up and clean. And they're laughing hard and back. So on the other end of this power cord, you have a plastic cover on this that you need to remove if you want to use it. So you got to peel off the plastic cover, and then you have a magnetic power cord. Unlike your Dell, on my Dell it actually slips in, and if I walk away with it, it's going to break. On the MacBook, it's actually a magnetic piece. That magnetic piece connects to the back left of your MacBook, and it just snaps on there. So if you hook it up like that, and it goes in two different ways, are perfectly fine. So you hook it in there, it magnetically sticks. If you turn it around the other way, it stays also. Now with the Dell, if you left your power brick stuck in the edge of the couch or somewhere else, and you stood up and walked away with it, it would end up breaking off the end or breaking your motherboard. And the great thing about the MacBooks is this is magnetic. So if you walk away and leave that connected, it's just going to snap off and not going to break anything. Next to that, you have the network adapter, the network jack. You can take and plug in an Ethernet cable to your home router or in your classroom, and that will get you online if your wireless doesn't work. Okay, it's a standard network jack just like it is on your Mac or on your PC. Next to that is a external hard drive adapter. Next to that is a video adapter. The district is getting adapters for the smart boards, but this is a video adapter that connects it to a VGA or DVI like you have on your TV or a monitor at home. If you want to connect it to an external monitor at your house, you go to the Apple store, you tell them you have a new MacBook Pro 13, and they will sell you an adapter to use at home for about $30. But you need to know what you're connecting to at home, because they have them for HDMI, DVI, and VGA. Next to that, you have a standard USB ports that you can plug in an external drive or a mouse or keyboard. Next to that is an SD card slot. The SD card slot, unlike other systems and unlike your camera, it does not slide all the way in there. So if you push in an SD card into there, make sure you stop before it gets mashed all the way in, otherwise you'll break things. And also don't snap it off once you have it plugged in there. So be careful of that. Next to that is your headphone jack. And then there's a button that you can't really see and some little lights that you can't see. That's your battery connection or your battery test. You push in that little button and some lights will light up, giving you your battery strength. There's about 8 or 10 lights there, and so you can check your battery strength. On the other side of the Mac, you have a little slot there that you can lock it to a locking cable. And then next to that is a DVD, CD burner. This one. Okay. Okay. We have an update on the setup. When you take this home, it's going to take an extra couple minutes to get it logged in than when you're here in at the school. So don't panic. Just give it some time whenever you go home to start up and shut down. And that will be resolved in the near future. So your CD, DVD burner, it has DVD software built in so you can watch movies. Once you stuff a DVD into your DVD burner, you want to get it back out. There's no button on the side. The eject button is here on the MacBook, on the top right of your keyboard. So you just hit that and it'll spit the drive out, or the disk out. Up here is your camera, so you can do FaceTime or Skype or take pictures of yourself. And then again on the touchpad, what you'll notice on the touchpad is there's no buttons here like on your Dell. There's no left and right click. So you push in to click, and then you can use 2 to 4 fingers to move around depending on the function that you want, and we'll cover some of that later. And then we'll show you how to change it so that you actually have a right-click button like you did on your D630. When you go to clean this thing, I'd ask that you not spray it with Windex, WD-40, bug killer, or anything else to clean it. You want to use a damp cloth, a little bit of water on a damp cloth, no dripping rags or anything else. A little bit of dampness isn't going to hurt it when you clean it, but water in the keyboard, water in any parts of it will kill it. So you don't need anything fancy. If you want to clean it easier, they do sell stuff at the Apple store that'll do a little bit better job cleaning it. Any questions on the device itself? Okay. So now your computer should have locked itself so you can punch in your password, and it brings us to where iCloud is. Everybody should be at the iCloud window. Up at the top of that, the top left, we want to click on Show All. That takes us to our system preferences. Within the system preferences, we want to go ahead and close that for now. If you look at the top left, the first thing you're going to notice is there's 3 icons that look like kind of what you had on the right side of your Windows screen when you were using Windows. They do pretty much the same thing. They close, they minimize, or they expand or contract the entire window. So if you click on the red X, that will go ahead and get rid of the system preferences for now. And we're going to walk through the touchpad, and now go ahead and open up Safari. Safari is the compass that's down at the bottom of your screen in your dock. Safari is Mac's version of Internet Explorer. It's how you surf the internet. And once you open up Safari, it should take you to the Apple page or the D49 page, depending on what stage of the setup your Mac is in. I'm sorry? Uh-oh. If you go to the top right of your screen near the speaker where it has the wireless signal and you click there, do you have D49 CS showing up? Can you click on D49 CS and see if it automatically connects? If not, you could connect to VRHS black box. Okay. So if you have Apple up there now, the first thing we're going to teach you is the 2 fingers on the touchpad. 2 fingers move you up or down on a page and left and right, and it keeps you within that page. So if you scroll up or down, you can see the screen goes up or down, and then you can go left and right on the page to switch between, to scroll left and right. Okay? If you were on a page that you could rotate, like a PDF, or you just had an image open in a photo editor, the other thing that you can do with your 2 fingers is you can rotate. So you just put your fingers on the trackpad, you turn left or right. It takes a lot of practice to get it down, but you can rotate pictures instead of having to, in the Windows world, you actually had to click on the rotate icon. So the next thing we do is we're going to zoom. Zooming is just like it is on your iPad or your iPhone. You pinch in or you pinch out depending on whether you want to zoom in or zoom out. No longer do you have to go down here to the bottom right and choose the percentage that you want to be. You can now use your fingers to actually do it. So when you, on this page here, if you squeeze your fingers out, you'll zoom in, and if you squeeze them back together, you'll zoom back out. Now, if you open up another application, so I'm going to open up System Preferences. With 2 applications open, or 3, or sometimes with 20 or 30, you used to have to Alt-Tab through all those applications. Now you can just take 4 fingers, move them up, and it switches it so you can see multiple applications on your screen. With multiple applications on your screen, you can then go choose another screen to switch to and move between your applications that way. So open up another application like Preferences. So click on something else, Finder or Preferences. Anything down there on the dock. Just open up. So in this case, I'm going to go open up Finder by clicking on it. With those open, I can take 4 fingers, I can scroll up, and it's going to show me all my open windows. It's pretty cool if you keep many windows open. And then if you scroll back down, it's going to hide them all again. Is everybody okay? So that's, what's that? Is everybody okay on the basics of the touchpad? There's probably 100 different movements you can make with anywhere from 1 to 4 different fingers. There's a great tutorial on the Apple website that walks you through all the different things you can do with the touchpad. And one of the things that was brought up in the last classroom is that people don't play with the touchpad long enough before they give up and go to a mouse. That the touchpad really has a lot more functionality and ends up being a lot more intuitive than a mouse does. It just works, and there's a lot of things that you can do with it. And now that I've been using it, I hate it when I go back to my Dell because I start trying to do this on my Dell touchpad and it doesn't do what I want to do. I'm trying to swipe, and now I'm just saying bad things about Dell whenever I have to switch back to that one. So. The big thing is just get in there and practice with it. I'll show you how to change some of the settings in a little bit when we go to the preferences. So now we're going to walk around the desktop a little bit. So go ahead and close what you have open. Go ahead and hit the red X up at the top left. And if you look at your desktop, you have down at the bottom, that is the dock. In the Apple world, the dock is not the thing that's sitting on your classroom that you're going to go try to mash your Apple into. A dock is the thing that's down at the bottom of the screen. Speaking of your docking station, the docking station that came with your Dell is not useful to you anymore. You need to go ahead and turn that in to the techs that are out in the field or drop it by the trailer. Whatever you do, don't try to figure out a way to get this thing mashed into your Dell dock. It's not going to work. It's going to break things, and we'll have to come pick it up and make things better. So the dock in this world is this part down here at the bottom of the screen. If you look over on the left, there's a little smiley face down here, or something like a smiley face. If you click on that, that is called Finder. Finder is one of the ways to get to your applications, to find files, to access the documents that you have on your system. If you go to Finder and type something into the Finder window, the search window, it's going to bring up things that have that word in it, that content in it. Or I can go down here on the left and I can go down and choose the applications window. When I'm in applications, it shows me all of my applications that I have. And I can go through there to go find Microsoft Office or Numbers or Photo Booth. Also, what shows up here are my documents, my movies, my music, my pictures. While we're here, we want to make one change. We want to go ahead and click on Finder up at the top left, and we're going to change your Finder preferences. So we want to go to Finder and then Preferences. Does everybody see where the preferences are? And then once we click on Preferences, it brings us to this window for the Finder Preferences. Is anybody not at the Finder Preferences? Okay. On the Finder Preferences, we want to check these 4 check marks. For hard disks, and you'll notice when I click on that, it shows my Macintosh hard drive on the top right of my screen. We want to show external disks, CDs, DVDs, and connected servers. And then we can go ahead and X that out. And then we can go ahead and get out of Finder by hitting the top left red icon. And we'll continue our tour around the desktop. To the right of the Finder is Launchpad. Launchpad takes you to your programs. And there you can go and launch programs. You'll notice that down at the bottom, there's 2 white dots. That shows you that you have 2 pages of programs there. And 2 ways to get to the different pages. You can either click on the white dots, if you don't have the trackpad figured out yet, Or if you have the trackpad figured out, you can take your 2 fingers and you can move left and right between the 2 pages of the applications. Down to the right of Launchpad is Mission Control, which takes you to your desktops. The App Store, we'll go into the App Store in depth, a little more in depth a little bit later on when we talk about purchasing apps. To the right of that is Mail, which we're not going to use. We'll show you how to remove that later. To the right of that is Safari. Safari is Internet Explorer for Mac. So if you used Internet Explorer before, or Mozilla, or Chrome, you're going to use Safari now. FaceTime is a video chat program. The address book and iCal, we're going to replace those with Outlook in a little bit. iTunes is for music and movies. Photo booth is so that you can show, it's a photo booth for taking pictures. iPhoto is how you manage photos. System preferences is how you change the overall system settings. And then over on the right you have your documents, your downloads, and running applications, and then your trash. The trash, most of the time, throws stuff away. It can also be used in some other functionality, but be careful. If you drag something down there, it goes away. You can actually uninstall applications with the trash. If you take Outlook and drop it into the trash, you have effectively uninstalled Outlook. All is not lost at that point. You can still recover it from the trash, but once you empty your trash, then we need to reinstall Outlook. So just be careful. We had somebody do that earlier. Up at the top left, your Apple icon is kind of like the Start icon on Windows. You can get there and you can put your computer to sleep, you can log out, you can shut it down, you can restart it, and you can get to some of the other settings that we may want to change later on. The tools that are across the top of your window change depending on what application is open at the time. So if I go back and I open up System Preferences, my toolbar changes. If I open up Safari, it changes up at the top to Safari. So that's going to change depending on the application that you have open. To the right of that is the little circle there is for Time Machine. Time Machine's a backup program for your Mac. We're not implementing that at this point. If you have something on your Mac, nobody at the district is backing that up for you. So if you have something that's critical for you that you're saving on your desktop or under Documents, you need to make sure that you're saving a copy of that onto a thumb drive. Okay? And then if the copy that's on your thumb drive, make sure that if your only copies are on your thumb drive and on your Mac, that you don't put your thumb drive in the same bag as the Mac, go to the gym, and go work out for an hour while somebody's rifling through your car and taking your thumb drive and your Mac at the same time. So make sure you keep your backup separate from your book or your MacBook. To the right of that is the Bluetooth connection. If you want to use a Bluetooth mouse, a Bluetooth keyboard, this is where you'd go to set that up. To the right of that is the Wi-Fi settings. So if you want to go connect to another network connection, that's where you would start. And we'll talk about Wi-Fi in a little bit. Your speaker, your power status if you don't want to push the button on the right-hand side, your clock, and then there's this Spotlight here. One of the nifty things about Spotlight is it's another search tool. It's another way to find an application or to start an application. But it also has some other features built into it. If I go and I punch in Safari, it's going to allow me to start the Safari application, the web browsing application, but it's also going to go down and do a web search for Safari if I want to, or it's going to take me to a dictionary definition of Safari. So that's the desktop. Does anybody have any questions on the desktop or where to find things, how to get to things? Okay. So down at the bottom of the screen, remember we talked about the dock down here. That's sort of like your taskbar with Windows or your start bar with Windows. Down there where it's easy to get to applications that you want to run. We want to go ahead and modify that because there's some things that we're not going to use and there's some things we want to add that we are going to use heavily. So we want to remove Mail. And the way you remove an icon is you just click and you hold and drag up to the Galaxy, up to your desktop, and it disappears. Yes, ma'am. So those, she's asking about connecting the iPad and iPhone to calendar and email. Those are already getting calendar and email right now, correct? So it just does that wirelessly over the internet. So this is going to connect now just like your iPhone and your iPad do, or your Android, over the internet to the mail server. We have not changed the mail server, it's still the Exchange server. We are just going to add this so it syncs. The calendar and the contacts and the email, all the same thing. So when you leave here, you should be able to make a change on your contacts on your phone, and it should change the contacts on your desktop. So that's the way everybody is set up that way currently, right, Cindy? If they're set up properly, what they change on their phone changes on their D630, changes in Outlook web access. Correct, okay. Another question here? No? Okay. So we also want to go ahead and remove the address book. Click and hold and drag to the Galaxy, and we're going to get rid of our calendar. So we want to make calendar, address book, and mail all go away off the dock. Now we want to go ahead and add our Office application so we can get back to email and a calendar. So go ahead and click on Finder. Then click on Applications. Within Applications, use your two fingers to scroll up or down, and it's all alphabetical. We want to go to Microsoft Office 2011. So click on Microsoft Office 2011, and it should bring you to this screen. So is anybody not at this screen now? Did you get Finder open? Yes, Finder. So open Finder, and then on the left hand of Finder, you have Applications. So your Finder should be this window here. If I open up Finder, on the left hand side it should say Applications. If I click on Applications, I can scroll up or down, it's alphabetical, until I find Microsoft Office. And then double click to open up Microsoft Office folder. Okay? And now with that open, we're going to drag these icons down to our dock. The way that you do that is you can either click and hold and drag, but that's really difficult for me. I can't do it well. So I click and hold with my thumb. I hold the whole thing down with my thumb, and I move with my pointer finger. So you click and hold on Excel, and then slide it around with your pointer finger till you get to where you want it on the dock. And then the icons will spread apart when it's in a spot where I can drop it. And then you can let it go and it shows up on the dock. Okay? So I can drag PowerPoint down here, and I can drag Outlook down here. And I accidentally double clicked on it on iTunes. So now everybody should have PowerPoint, Outlook, Word, and Excel on their dock. Is anybody stuck on getting those on your dock? So you click and hold the icon down with your thumb and drag it down with your pointer finger, or do them both at the same time if you're skilled enough to be able to use one finger.
But they'll still stay in the application.
They're still going to stay in the application folder. Now, if you accidentally drag them over to the trash, you have not completely uninstalled Word unless you empty your trash. So you don't want to empty your trash yet. And if you do accidentally put it in your trash, it's now in my trash. If I empty it, I'm in trouble. Otherwise, I can just double click on that, or I'm not double click on it, but right click on it and choose Put Back. If I choose Empty Trash, then it's going to say, I'm going to permanently erase the item in the trash, and I don't want to do that. I want to put it back, okay?
So we moved down 3 of them?
I moved down PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, and Outlook. Okay? Now let's go back. One thing I missed showing you in Finder. Go back to Finder, which is the smiley face at the bottom left of your screen. This is just like Windows Explorer. You can change your view up at the top of the screen so you can show items as icons or with details or as a preview. From the little gear there, you can choose to open files, copy, you can make duplicates. It's like the right click. And then over at the right, you can choose how to sort them by name, by what type of application, by the data was modified or added. So again, what you could do in Windows, you can still do within the Mac world. You just have to, the functionality is there. It's just done in a different way, and you just need to play with it, go through the tours to figure it out. Okay, so now we want to go through the system preferences. System preferences is down at the bottom right. It's that little box with gears in it. Go ahead and single click on that to open it up. And this is where you change the look and feel of your system. You can make a lot of changes in here that just change the feel of it. Some of them in here will actually break your system. If you break your system, don't worry about it. Call Cindy or somebody at the help desk. They'll send somebody out to get a hold of your system. We'll re-image it, give it back to you. Chances are you're not going to break the thing completely permanently, and we can get it back up and running for you. But, like I said before, make sure you have, if you're going to do a lot of playing, make sure absolutely that you have a backup copy of your data so that if you have to wipe your system, you have a copy of it yourself. If we start at the top left, you have the general settings under personal. That's where you change the look, feel, and everything of your desktop. Yes, ma'am? Oh, system preferences. How do you get to system preferences? Down at the bottom right of your dock, you have system preferences. And I just realized we're missing one thing off of our dock. So I apologize. We need to go back to make a dock change. The one thing I didn't add on your dock was a shortcut to Internet Explorer windows. So we want to add the shortcut for Infinite Campus to your dock. So I need you to go back and open up Safari again, which is the compass down at the bottom of your screen. If it's not opening up the D49 webpage, please go ahead and go to d49.org, which should take you to the Falcon School District website. Under the Falcon School District website, I need you to click on the Show or View More next to Announcements. Under where it says View More, then it takes us to a page that has staff resources on the left-hand side. If you click on staff resources on the left-hand side, we want to go to Infinite Campus, which is 4 items down. And then we should be at this green screen for Infinite Campus. Is anybody not at the Infinite Campus page? Okay, so go to the D49 homepage, which is d49.org. It's still loading? Okay. Is it? It's just loading? Okay. Is anybody still waiting for it to load? Okay, this is going to take a couple tries to show you. So, when you're at this page or at a web page, to create a shortcut for a web page, you have the web address up here. To the right of the plus symbol and to the left of HTTPS, there's a little circular half moon kind of icon here. The way that I do it is I click and hold with my left thumb, or my right thumb, I'm sorry. I click and hold with my thumb, and then I use my pointer finger to drag that down and across the page, and I drag it all the way down to somewhere to the right of that dashed line. Yes, sir.
How come that one has to go to the right of the dash line? It doesn't come straight down to the application show on the left side.
So the question is, why does it have to go on the right-hand side of the dashed line? Because documents go to the right side of the dashed line, and shortcuts, applications go to the left side. And it's just the rules from Apple. So did everybody see how I did that? Is anybody not able to do that? Yep. So what you do is, on any web page, to the left of the HTTP and to the right of the plus sign, if you click and hold on that little icon with your thumb, click and hold with your thumb, and then use your pointer finger to drag it around, drag it all the way down to the right-hand side of that dashed line, and let it go, and it creates a little spring with an @ symbol on it. Okay? Now when you click on that, it takes you to that web page. So let's go back now to System Preferences. System Preferences, if we click on, and System Preferences again is the gears down at the bottom of your screen, the little box with gears. Go ahead and click on General. General is how you change the look and feel of your windows, what colors you want, what, how many applications you want to show for recent items, basically the touch and feel of your desktop. When you're in Preferences, when you want to go back to all the preferences, you click on General or Show All to go back to all of the preferences. To the right of that is your desktop and screensaver. If you click on that, you can change your desktop wallpaper to something more peaceful than the Galaxy, and you can choose some grass or Mount Rainier or whatever that is. And then you can also change your screensaver to be something else that's more pleasing to you. And then we want to go back to Show All. You want to go ahead and click on your dock. Your dock, this is how you change how your dock behaves. You can change it, you can change the size of the icons, you can change whether it's on the left or the right, whether or not it automatically hides and comes back. On the next row down, you have your display settings. And there's a lot here I'm going to skip, and it's just because we can't hit everything in 2 hours. I'm showing you the key things to make you functional to be able to go home and play with it. Click on the displays. Yours up here at the top has two buttons. You have display and color. I have display arrangement and color. The reason I have arrangement is because I have an external monitor, the projector plugged in. If I click on arrangement there, I can, right now it's mirrored, I can unmirror it, and now I actually have two different desktops. So just like you do with your projector or your smart board or your other monitor. But for these purposes, I'm going to have it mirrored. The one thing I always do is I check it to show the displays in the menu bar. The reason I do that is because now up here at the top, I have an icon of a monitor. I can now click on that to switch to turn off mirroring. I can change the resolution. I can change the number of displays and all of that there. Okay? Any questions on displays? Okay. To go back to system preferences, to the right of displays is the energy saver. You can set how long until it goes to sleep and how long until it goes into standby or logs you out. So then we go back to show all. We're going to skip over keyboard and mouse. On the mouse, there is a magic mouse available at the Apple Store for $60 or so. Before you go buy yourself a mouse, play with the touchpad, go through the Apple tutorial on how to use it properly, and it's amazing what you can do with it. If we click on the touchpad, the trackpad, what you have here, Apple calls the trackpad. If you click on the trackpad, there's one thing I like to change here at the top left. If you click on point and click, you have the secondary click, which in Apple's world is Microsoft's right click. So if you use the right click a lot, then you want to go to the secondary click, choose the drop down there, go down to click in bottom right corner and choose that. What that does is that now gives you the ability to click in the bottom right corner of your trackpad to do a right click. So now that I've done that, I can go down to PowerPoint, I can click in the bottom right corner of my screen and I get my right click choices. The rest of it you can change, but I would ask that you wait to change it until you actually go through the tutorial and learn how it works as it comes out of the box, because it comes very functional. But if you're one of those that likes the very light touch on your touchpad, which drives me nuts because I end up typing and clicking in other parts of the screen, you can set that at this point. Go back to show all. To the right of trackpad is print and scan. You open up when you want to add a printer, when you go home or you go to your classroom and you want to add a printer, you open up the print and scan, and then on the bottom left of the window there's a little plus symbol. You click on that, and within that window, printers will show up if printers are available. There's no printers available right now because you're on an external network. We're not on the internal school network, otherwise you'd see a whole bunch of printers. What you'll find when you go back to your classroom is you're going to have a bunch of printers show up with minimal identification on them. So you're going to show up and you're going to have 4 HP 4250s. They're going to have an identification next to them that may or may not at this point match what's actually the label on the printer. This goes back to sort of, we've had about 2 weeks to get everything ready and running for all of this. We haven't had a chance to hit the hundreds of printers that are out there all over the district. Ultimately, what you see in your screen here will match what's actually on the printer. Until that point, unfortunately, if it doesn't match right now, it's going to be some trial and error. So you're going to have 4 HP 4250s that show up on your printer screen. At this point, you're going to have to choose a 4250, print a test page to it, go to that printer and see if your piece of paper actually spit out. If it didn't spit out, then you're going to have to print to the next one, see if the piece of paper came out. And so please test that before you print a 500-page document to some other printer. Yes, ma'am. You'll be able to, if there are drivers available for it. So the drivers are always an issue when you change to new operating systems or other platforms. Drivers are what makes the printer talk to the computer. The drivers are supplied by the manufacturer to either the custom or to Apple. So there's a good chance you're going to plug in your printer and it's going to magically go through some processes and you're going to have a printer there. If it does not show up and you can't print to it when you plug it in, or if it doesn't see it, you're going to have to go to your printer manufacturer's website and go to their drivers page and download the drivers. And then you have the rights on your computer to actually install drivers and set up that printer. Okay. If the manufacturer does not have print drivers available for Mac OS X, then unfortunately it's not going to be usable on your MacBook. Okay. Also, as we go through this, we start hitting the hundreds of printers that are out there. The guys at the help desk, Cindy, has some documentation on where some printers are, and that documentation is just going to grow as again. So if you can't figure it out, you might want to call Cindy and say, I'm sitting at Vista Ridge High School, I'm looking at 4 Dell 4250s, which one should I print? And there's some chance that we're going to know that in short order which one you want to choose. Okay? Any other questions on printers? Okay. So then we want to go back to show all. And then we want to go down to network. Down here under network is where you can turn your Wi-Fi on or off on the right-hand side. So if your Wi-Fi is not working, you want to go there and look and see if your Wi-Fi is actually turned on. Because if it's not on, then things aren't going to work. To connect your wireless, when you walk into, when you go home this afternoon, or you stop by Starbucks or Panera or somewhere else to get on the wireless, your MacBook should pop up and say, I found a wireless network you want to connect. And it'll come up with a window like you see on the TV right now, that it comes up with a list of networks that you can connect to. If it doesn't come up with that list, you can go to the top of your screen, go down and choose which network you want to connect to. So if I want to connect to the Apple TV network, which is a secure network, it's going to prompt me for a password. If you go to Panera's or Starbucks, it's not going to prompt you for a password. You're just going to see, if you go to Starbucks, you're going to see a network called ATT Wi-Fi. You connect to that, and then a web page will open up asking you to accept Starbucks terms of use. So it's pretty straightforward on connecting to the wireless. It should just work. Any questions on the system preferences? There's about 20 icons we didn't cover. You just take the time and play with it. And we will have a day with the Apple folks that'll do a lot more in-depth training with you in the future. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and set up Outlook so that you guys can communicate. So to get Outlook running, click on the golden O down here at the bottom. And it should open you up to this page that's on my screen now, which asks you for your name and your company name. The company name, we want to just be D49. And once we type in D49, we can hit continue. The rest of your name is there, and it's what populates your Word documents or your PowerPoint documents with the metadata that's underneath, so that somebody, if they want to know who created a document, they can see that in the future. It brings you up to this page. You want to choose that we want to keep your Mac up to date with the latest updates, and we don't want to provide any feedback at this point to Microsoft. So from there we hit continue. It says, congratulations, you're now ready to run Office. Choose done on there, and it's going to come up with a window with an important question, which is whether or not we want to use this as our default application for email, contacts, and calendar. You want to choose yes at the bottom left of that window, that you want to make Outlook the default application for email, calendar, and contacts. Then we can add an account at the bottom left. Is everybody at this window here? Who's not at this window? Okay. Okay, so we choose add account at that point, and it brings us to this window. If you're already into Outlook, if you went ahead of the teacher, nobody would ever do that in here, I'm sure. If your Outlook's open and you don't have an account, choose Tools and then Accounts up at the top of Outlook, and you'll get to this window. From here, we want to click on Add an Exchange Account. And before we do anything else on this window, we want to uncheck Configure Automatically. So we should have a server window down at the bottom of this. You want to uncheck Configure Automatically. Is anybody not at this screen? Okay. So your settings are also over here on the TV on your left. You want to put in your email address. My email address, I'm going to be jteacher@d49.org. My username, we want to leave the method, username, and password. My username is everything that's to the left of the @ sign. There is no domain that we want in here. We just want jteacher, dbegier, whatever your username is, without the domain. And then the password is what you used to log into your D630 last week. So if you used it for your D630 last week or last month, you want to use it here to log into the system. So you're going to punch in your password. The server is mail.d49.org. Mail.d49.org is the server. Once you get that information in there and you choose Add Account, you're going to get prompted with a couple warnings. On both of those warnings, you want to always hide those warnings or always accept the warnings and then continue. So once I hit Add Account, it's going to ask if I want to redirect to a new server. I want to always accept that response. And then you're going to get a certificate error that says you may not want to trust the certificate, and you want to check the check mark that says you always want to trust that server, and then choose continue or allow. Once you're done, you should make it to this window, and from this window you can X out of there, and it'll take you to your inbox. Your inbox should start populating. If you're like me and you have 20-some-odd thousand emails in your inbox, it might take it a few days to actually sync everything. Yes, ma'am? Okay, that might be if your email doesn't start populating at this point, then we can have Ben help you after this. And now that Ben's made it back from the last class, this is Ben that's wandering around over here. He is the one that you're going to meet with in the library if you have continuing questions or need some help after this. Is everybody now at the Outlook window? So the thing about Outlook for Mac is the view and the feel of it is different than Outlook for Windows, but all the functionality is still there. You should still have all of your contacts, your calendar, your ability to send and receive email is there, your ability to schedule appointments, your ability to search the global address list. It is just in a different place than it was on the on Outlook for Windows. So if you created calendar items before and invited people, it's the same thing here. You can create a calendar item, you can create recurring calendar items, you get a to window where you can type in somebody's email address and invite them. All of this is going to take a little while for it to sync up to get all of your calendar items and all of your contacts in there, but it will be there eventually. How do you do what? How do you make it bigger? So you choose the green button to the top left. No violence in class now. No hitting the fellow students. It's a plus sign. It's a green plus sign. If you look at the big screen, up at the top left of your. Now the cursor, yes, that's the word I couldn't think of. Then if you move your cursor to a corner of your screen, you can also manually resize it by clicking and holding and dragging. Okay, so we're gonna move on a little bit here. Within Outlook, it's just play with it. Everything should be there that was in your Windows Outlook, just in a different place. Okay?
That should have worked.
So I'm gonna move on to external drives here. When you guys turned in your D630s, you got an email from Don saying copy everything off of your D630 onto a thumb drive. So all of you should have a thumb drive, external hard drive, or something that has your data on it. It works just like having a thumb drive with your Windows. You plug it into your USB port, and on the right-hand side of your screen, and in Finder, your thumb drive shows up. So here it shows up as BGS Cruiser, that's the name of it. My initials are BGS, and my drive is a Cruiser. I named it that way. You can also go down to Finder, and on the left-hand side you have, under Devices, you have your Cruiser, or your thumb drive. You can take all of your documents from your thumb drive then, and you can copy them over to your documents. So I can go down and I can go drag a file, just like dragging and dropping anything else, and I can drag it over to my documents. And it's now sitting in my documents. If I copied everything over to my thumb drive, I can choose multiple things and then drag and drop those over. Now the one thing you want to remember when using a thumb drive with a Mac is you absolutely must eject that thumb drive before you take it away. It's not as friendly as Windows is as far as syncing documents. It's supposedly a lot more sensitive. If you just yank it out of the side of your MacBook, there's a good chance you will corrupt your data. So you want to make sure you eject it. The way that you eject the thumb drive is if you're in Finder, you have a little eject icon here you can click on. Or if it's just there on your desktop, you can right-click on it on your desktop and choose eject, whatever the name of it is. And it will disappear. Once it's disappeared, you can then unplug it and go on. Okay? Any questions on using a thumb drive? Okay? Then we'll talk shortcuts. Shortcuts, if you guys use shortcuts with Windows, shortcuts with Mac OS X is pretty near the same thing, except that instead of using Control key, you use the Command key. The Command key is on the left and right of your spacebar. And once you get into a document, if you want to choose all of a document, you choose Command A, just like you used to do Control A. If you want to cut something from your document, you use Control X. All right? Getting reversed. You use Command X. If you want to copy something, you use Command C. If you want to paste it, you use Command V. There's probably 100 different keyboard shortcuts. There's documents on Apple's website if you want to get into all the different keyboard shortcuts that you can go that show you all the keyboard shortcuts. These are just some of the ones that I use frequently, that most people use frequently. The other thing is if you ever used print screen or alt print screen to save a copy of an image of your desktop into another document, there's now Command Shift 3 and 4. So if you hit Command Shift 3 now, what you just did is you created a JPEG of your desktop and saved it to your desktop. So if you hit Command Shift 3, you can go ahead and do that now. Hit Command Shift 3, it's going to create a JPEG and put it on your desktop. You can then take that JPEG and insert it into a Word document somewhere. The other thing that you can do, if you want to get a screenshot off your desktop, if you do Command Shift 4, you end up with a little target on your screen that you can then click and hold and drag, and it's like the snipping tool within Microsoft. You can drag that wherever you want to. It's going to choose whatever you drag it over. If you let go, it then saves that as a JPEG on your desktop. So if you have something that you want to save to show your students later on, you do that snipping, and it will be available later on to put in a Word document or a PowerPoint. Any questions on shortcuts before I move on? I'm sorry? Oh. So we didn't print out a list for everybody. There'll be links from the website to get to a lot of this, but there's probably 100 different shortcuts, and most people only use a handful of them. If you want to see what all the shortcuts are out there, if you go to Apple's support site and search for shortcuts, there's an entire list of them. I encourage you to spend some time at apple.com or support.apple.com and go through all the tutorials that are there, because it's not just the shortcuts, it's how do you use your fingers on the touchpad, what do all those icons do in preferences, how do you personalize it. All right, so we're going to move on to buying applications. As Don mentioned, the curriculum piece is a district level, there's district, school, and zone level decisions that have to be made as far as curriculum software that needs to be purchased through the district. If you have something that is for your class or for your school or for your zone that you need to purchase, those are purchased under a corporate Apple ID and pushed out from the district down to your machine. So if everybody in a school is going to be using some special math software, then that is something that Don will tell you how to go about requesting that. But you request that, it's purchased with an Apple ID, it stays with the district, it stays with that MacBook, and it doesn't go with you when you leave the district. If, however, you want to buy something to try out in your classroom, so you've found a great calculus tool, it's $3, and you want to try it out, you are more than welcome to go to the Apple Store, or to go buy a game or something. You can go to the Apple Store yourself, and you can buy it with your Apple ID. If you buy it with your Apple ID, it goes on your credit card, you buy it, you own it. When you leave the district at some point, you take that application with you, it stays with you. So we don't want to buy applications that are school-wide on personal accounts, because then the district doesn't own them. We want to buy those on district accounts. If it's personal for you, or if you're trying something out, you want to put it on your credit card and you own it forever. The other side of that is, unless you guys plan on staying with D49 until old age and retiring here, you want to make sure that you don't use your D49 email account as your iTunes account. You want to set up a Gmail account, a Yahoo account. If AOL still exists, set up an AOL account, do something, but don't do a D49 account, because when you leave the district in a few years, you want to be able to take those applications with you that you've put on your credit card. And this is what the App Store looks like. It's just, you go down here, and within the App Store, you can go search for, tools. If you go search for calculus, there's a whole bunch of things that pop up for calculus, calculus tutor and a few other things. Okay? And then these are the Mac resources I talked about on the TV. They're also on that card that Mark Roscoe or Wendy or Barb gave you. Spend some time there. Go out, go home this afternoon, go to Starbucks, go somewhere, and check out what's at Apple. There's a lot of great resources, a lot of great tools there to use. Okay? And that's my part of this. Does anybody have any questions for me before I turn it back over to Don? Yes, sir.
So documents that we save will not be backed up on physical servers?
If you save them on your desktop, if you save them to the network drive, and Ben can help you get connected to that after this. We're going to push out those shortcuts later on. But if you save them to the network drive, they're backed up on the server. So that's where Jason and Lane and all the network guys come in, is making sure that that happens. If you're saving them, though, on your local machine so that you can go around and work at Starbucks and they're saved there, then those are your responsibility to save a copy of off to a thumb drive. Okay? iCloud, we didn't go into that. I'm not sure if the actual Apple teachers, there are tools out there that will allow you to sync your stuff out to the internet. Dropbox, iCloud, SugarSync, there's a lot of tools out there. We could spend an hour talking about those. So, okay. Yes, ma'am.
The screen that you're on right now is tutorials. Tutorials.
Oh, up here? No, that's just the what's on the screen now. She was asking about the tutorials. The screen that's up there now is just the App Store. The tutorials are over here on the TV. No, you need to be, well, there's help files on there's help files on your MacBook that you can go to. A lot of places when you're in a window, you have a help screen. So if I go to work on my trackpad, I end up down at the bottom right, there's a question mark. If I click on that question mark, it will take me to a help center. Right. If you want, though, the best tutorials at this point for you guys are probably out at the Mac or out at the Apple website. They have videos on how to do things. They have documents, PDFs that you can download that have shortcuts that have all of that stuff on it. Okay. Apple.com and support.apple.com. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you guys very much.
We talked a little bit earlier, and I mentioned that if we just give you a computer as a tech committee, then we failed. That we want it to be a real powerful tool, and the reason that I said that was that we were very purposeful in picking the MacBook, and that was born out of what was going on in the power zone with an iPad 1-to-1. And so the MacBook is the device that's going to create the content that your children, your students will use on the iPad. And so it's very synchronous and it's very seamless. We were gracious to you and put the Microsoft Suite on there. Apple actually encouraged us not to do that. Because when they come in and train you, they're going to train you in the environment your children are going to work in. Because that's what the iPad will not have the Microsoft Suite on. Yes, if they send you a Pages document, it will convert to Word, etc. I've done that with my stuff. I had the Dell here. But anyway, so with that being said, so we were very purposeful as a committee in terms of picking this device. And one of the things that's very exciting, though, was the board said to me, well, what next? And I said, well, beyond the devices that we would like to do and go to the 1-to-1, I said, before we do that, the most important thing that we can do is staff development. We need to invest in staff development. So in that spirit, as part of our lease, we brought in 1 7.5-hour day of training for every teacher. So I've worked with your zone leaders and your principals, and you'll be getting information about our staff development days here coming in the fall, where you're actually going to have a full day of training in a class no larger than 22. So an intimate environment where you're going to move from the computer piece of this device to the powerful teaching tool that it is. And Apple educators, not tech people, but Apple educators fly in and they spend a day with you, really moving you to a place where you're going to really feel super comfortable starting to go out and explore and experiment with creating iBooks, etc. Especially for those of you that aren't in the power zone or that are in the power zone but aren't a part of the iPad pilot. So that'll be a very powerful thing for you. And then beyond that, then we'll get feedback from you after you've done those trainings, and that will help us determine, in working with, again, zone leadership and principals, what are the next steps for you, what are your needs to really empower you so that when we move down the road, hopefully with a 1-to-1 iPad initiative, you guys are just rock stars and moving along and feel super comfortable in that environment, working back and forth between your MacBook and the iPad that the kids will have in their hands. So certainly an investment there that we will continue to push for, that we're going to advocate for you as teachers to make sure that we give you all the training you need to set you up for success. So I hope that's good news for you. The other thing is that it's really important for you to understand this. The other real purposeful decision that we made as a tech committee was about ownership of the machine. And if you'll think about other environments that you've been in, you've had to put in a help ticket if you wanted to put in your favorite Run Dog Run 3rd grade reading software. And then we put that into something called Run Advertised Programs, and then that went out to 3rd grade reading teachers, etc. Or if it was an individual thing, it went out to you. Well, at the encouragement of Apple, the core value at Apple is about disrupting and being innovative and experimenting and owning your experience. And so we've given that to you. You no longer have to put in a help ticket. If you're on a Sunday night, you're messing around in the App Store and you find something that might supplement Run Dog Run, and you want to try it the next morning in your classroom, you can get that in the App Store and walk into your classroom the next day and use it. Yes?
John, I had a teacher ask me about our treasures program, has some stuff they got off of run advertised programs, so that was the question.
Okay, I'm going to get to that with the software replacement request that they'll have to do. But you own this machine, and I hope that makes you smile, because we said let's trust the educators. That's what innovation's all about, is pushing the decision making to where it belongs, the boots on the ground. And I was in the military, and I was in environments where, one, we were very trusted and had a lot of autonomy, and I felt very safe and really enjoyed that environment. And then I was in other environments that were very restrictive. We're moving you to a less restrictive environment, giving you more complete ownership, quite frankly, of this device, so that you can take the risk, you can go experiment, you can fail forward, and not worry about it. So, yes?
So basically that means we don't need administrative rights.
Every one of you are an administrator.
Oh, okay, good.
At this time. In that way. Blake just turned his head and freaked out. So, but with that being said, you need to be super cautious about, you really want to make sure that you're getting Mac approved, Apple approved. You really want to hang out in that environment. If you got a CD that's got some creepy looking scratched in Mac device software and you load it in there, that's you're accountable for that, because we've given you that level of trust. I'm not worried about that, but yes.
Are we still going to have to short tell how it's a phone thing?
Yes, someone worked that out, and so we'll be pushing that information out to you so that you can see ShoreTel and do that piece. Great questions. Any other questions? I do want to show you a couple more things. VGA cables. How many of you are in the smart world right now? Smart boards? Okay. So I want to set an expectation for you. We're placing an order for about 200 of these little white devices right here. They're an adapter for your VGA, and I'm not sure of their availability. And so I want to set an expectation, and I hope I never say this again in our history, have a plan B. Because the biggest source of disappointment is unfulfilled expectations, and if you're going to use that the first day, I don't know when those will arrive. They're not going to arrive 6 months from now, but we're not much more than 2 weeks or so away from getting started. So hopefully they're readily available and they'll be here and we'll get them to you, but just be prepared for that, so that you're not disappointed and you feel frustrated on that first day. We want that to be a very successful day for you, not a frustrating day. I talked about professional development. I want to show you this. So we realize that you have software that you've used in your previous environment, and so we've set up a place for you to starting with your principals. We talked to the zone leaders. We don't think it's appropriate for us at the district office to tell you how to run your schools. That is not an innovative model. So we've set up on the, by the way, don't go with me on this. Don't follow me, because we did this Monday and all 48 people in the room went with me, and it took me 15 minutes to show them the document. And so with that being said, while that's loading, the other exciting thing that's coming hand in hand with this is that we've increased our bandwidth. Not to the level that we want to long term, but it's increased from this year. One of your elementary schools, I'm not sure which one it was running at about 21 megs, and we were saying it was running at 100. So every elementary school will run at a true 100 megs this year. So if you're at that school that had 21 megs running, you're quintupling your capability, your speed. And how we're going to manage these devices is also different. We're going to have a Mac server in every building, and that's going to increase your speed. And so what's going to happen, instead of all 50 of us in this room going out to the Run Dog Run website, and then all 50 of us trying to come back through a firewall that has other stuff across the district trying to come through it, we're all going to race out to Run Dog Run, but one of us is going to win. And whoever wins, that's going to put that in what we call cache. It's going to cache it. And then the rest of us, instead of going to Denver to pick up that Run Dog Run software in the cloud, the rest of us are going to go around where that person left it at the 7-Eleven around the corner. It's going to be like that. So much faster. Much faster. But the analogy that I used is we're moving from a dirt road to a 2-lane highway this year. And the requirement that we're going to ask for down the road is to move from a 2-lane highway to the Autobahn. Our goal is to have 1 gig, so 10 times the 100 megs, running in every one of your buildings next year. So that'll be super fast. And we're going to need that if we go to as we begin to put more iPads in a wireless environment, we're going to need that kind of capability. So, but we're not there yet, so that's why I asked you not to follow me here, so I can get you out of here before like 1 o'clock. So you're going to go, when you do go to the internet, you're going to go to Learning Services. You're going to go to Professional Development. And this is answering the question that Mr. Fowler asked about, the software and some of the stuff that you've run. And then you're going to go down here to the software replacement request form, and it might ask you for your password again. And so what this is you're going to fill out this form and you're going to send it to your principal first, because we think that a lot of these decisions will be made locally. And again, in the spirit of setting expectations, it would be unrealistic for us to expect that the district could afford to replace all the software that was currently used, especially the stuff that was purchased at the building level. So you're going to have conversations with your principal about, is this just a deal breaker and are we going to purchase it? If it's a district software, do we still need to purchase it, etc.? And they'll push that decision up to me. Or is it time for us to have a new conversation about, do I go buy that 99-cent or that $3.99 app and try something different? So what I would encourage you is to think about what it looks like. I'd start with the first month of school and think about what those uh-ohs might be and get those to your principal right away. And then I'd go out to May and I'd work backwards with some more time and get those to he or she as quickly. Oh, it didn't like me. Blake, I've lost connectivity, I believe. Here we go, let's see what we've got. I'll let you fuss with that. And so this form, hopefully it comes up, but what it is just going to be your name, your school, the name of the software, the frequency that you use it. So it's Run Dog Run. I use it for 3rd grade reading. I use it 2 hours a day with all 180 students. And then there's going to be a narrative for your rationale to send to your principal. And then, like I said, you'll work at the local level first, and then if it comes to the district level, we'll figure it out. But we may be having conversations about doing something differently than we've done in the past, etc. So I don't want to set an unrealistic expectation. Didn't like me, huh? Do you guys have questions while we're waiting to do this piece? Other questions? Frank, Mr. Fowler, did that answer your question? Yes. Okay. And was that the right answer? No other questions? Okay. One of the other things that you'll hear us say, and we really want to encourage this, is and when I first made the conversion to the Mac OS environment, just go play. As Mr. Schwank said, they're really hard to quote unquote break, and even if you found the nuclear button that I've yet to find, and if anybody could have found it, it was probably me. We'll re-image it and start over, and it's going to be fine. But we're not going to be angry and all those sort of things. This device is symbolic of more of the shift in innovation and the belief in and trust in our teachers, our experts, to go out and make themselves even more expert and get powerful, fast, real-time tools in your hands. Yeah. And if you have children at home that have been around any of these devices, they can be a powerful asset to you. My son is the worst teacher, but he knows these devices so well. I try to tell him not to rip it out of my hand, but especially my iPad, he's like, let me show you, Dad, and it's this and it's that. But they're not afraid. They are not afraid to touch them. They know they're not going to break them, and they're awesome, so use them. They're experts. So this is the form that I just was talking about. So you'll go to this form, you'll fill it out, and then you'll send it to your principal as an attachment. And the reason, again, we don't want it sent to us is it's not our place to tell you what you should be doing in your building. It's you and your principal's decision to work together, etc. This might also be a form that you use, even though it says software replacement. You know, we're purchasing for the smart boards because the district's made a significant dollar investment in the smart technology, but there's other things, you know, TVs and projectors and things like that. So if you think that you've got something that's a tool you rely on all the time that needs some sort of an adapter, try to figure that out. If you're not expert enough or knowledgeable enough to figure that out, someone in your building is, and you need to get that request to your principal right away, because that's going to have to be a local purchase, a building level purchase for you. So that's very exciting. But these are such cool things, and we're excited about our pilot. So do you guys have any questions about this form? Well, I'm going to leave you with this. We're very excited about this, but I do want to thank you for taking your time, being patient with us as you'd probably heard rumors of this coming throughout the spring, and we're waiting in anticipation in the spring, and then they didn't come. But thank you for taking your time in the summertime. I know your time's valuable. Be patient with this. It's every day it's going to get better and better and better, and you're going to find out that you have an amazingly powerful tool in your hands, and you're going to love it.